Welcome to Chronicles of Old Singapore. This is Dr. Loh KS, and I speak to people about their memories of Singapore before it became a global city. Do like the video and subscribe for future episodes. This will help the channel a lot. So the episode today is going to bring together two of my interests on this channel, right? So one has been the naval base, which we have covered quite a lot in previous episodes, especially with Wan Chan Piu. So do check out these earlier episodes on the channel. Just search for Naval Base. And the other one is some of the communities in Singapore, right? Especially the ethnic minorities. We did an episode previously with the Gujaratis, the traders of Singapore, and before that, the islanders who lived in the offshore islands. So today what we're going to do is to combine these two, right? And talk about the Sikhs of Singapore, who are a very prominent minority here, and their location in the naval base area especially, right? Although we also talk about the Sikhs generally, and very delighted to have an expert with us today who actually written a book on the Northern Sikhs, and to kind of trace the history and the heritage, the culture of the Sikh community in Singapore. Let us welcome Mr. Mejar Singh. Mejar, morning. How are you?
Good morning, Dr. Ho. Thank you for having me. I'm good. A little bit under the weather, but let's proceed.
I think a lot of us are, right? Hope you get well soon. Tell us a little bit about yourself and association with the northern part of Singapore.
I was born in India and joined my father here around the mid-50s, about 53 or 54, who had come earlier to join the Naval Base Police. So I spent the bulk of my childhood schooling years in the Naval Base, the British Naval Base, where my father served as a police constable in the Naval Base Police. Subsequently, around the age of 18, I sort of did a little bit of a stint in the Army Depot Police. As a police constable, though I never really held anything there. They took me in just because I was a sportsman, and then did a bit of training teacher assignment, and I got called up for national service. So the next 30 years was in the SAF. I retired in 1996, end 1996. And at the beginning of 1997, I joined the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, where I served until the end of 2019, just around the COVID period, and returned to Singapore in 2020.
There's a lot to go through there. So tell us, where was your hometown there when where you were born?
Well, I come from a place called Bagaprana. It's near Moga, a small area, basically a rural area, born in the village. And it's part of the present-day Punjab. And then from there, basically, whole life in Naval Base, and then until the British withdrawal, 1971.
When you came, how old were you?
I was about 5 years old.
Okay.
5 years old, yeah.
Okay, so school, everything, most of the childhood was here in the
Naval Base, all the way until the British withdrew.
Where did you stay in the Naval Base?
In the Naval Base, stayed in a few places. It was in line with new quarters and so on that were being constructed when we came around. Initially, I stayed in a place called Khalsa Crescent. It was built specially for the Sikh policemen those days. This is opposite the Royal Malayan Navy that existed then. So that's where I spent my childhood. Then we moved to another set of police quarters in Bukit Rimau, which was called View Road. Up in View Road were again a mixture of policemen, mainly Sikhs, Pakistanis, and some Malays. So that was the place I spent a few years. And then my father was sort of given accommodation in a place called Cochrane Crescent, which was just opposite the entrance of the British dockyard. Yeah, at the dockyard area. So that was Cochrane Crescent. Stayed there until around 71, 72, I think, when the British decided to withdraw. Then by then I was already in the army. Then managed to apply for a HDV flat. Then moved on to Toa Payoh. Later on to Normanton Park, which was constructed specifically for SAF officers. I was there, and then moved on to in Pemimpin. I had a house of my own, and now I live in a HDB flat in Yishun, again nearer to the Naval Base.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm at Admiralty actually, so we should meet up for coffee.
Sure.
We're in Yishun. Which part of Yishun? Sembawang Road.
I'm near the Orchid Park.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe I want to ask you to talk about your book. Tell us what the book is about and why did you write it?
Well, the book is about the people. I mean, it was to trace the origins of our Sikh temple, actually, not so much to other aspects, because we felt that the Gurdwara that we are operating in now, called the Yishun Sikh Temple, or we call it Gurdwara Sahib Yishun, is situated in the north. It is the only Gurdwara up there in the north, because the other 6 Gurdwaras are more in the south, in the city area. You may be aware that there are 7 Gurdwaras of the Sikhs in Singapore. Prior to that, there were more, but then they got. So very few people knew about our origins, exactly when did the police force start. And Gurdwaras are very closely associated. Wherever the Sikhs went, the first thing they do, they'll build a Gurdwara. It is common, traditional, religious, meet their spiritual needs, whatever way you may want to explain it. But Gurdwaras are a common feature wherever the Sikhs went, especially uniform contingents. You will see that happening even in Singapore, or that happened in Singapore. So we thought we should record something. There were a few old members still living, so it was more oral history than any proper archival work. And we just wanted to make sure that there was something recorded. And we had some old minutes of meetings and all that, fortunately, which were not thrown away, handwritten in English as well as in our own Gurmukhi, Punjabi. And so that was the main idea. And it was quite well received, because at least now we know where we came from.
Yes.
Yeah.
When was the temple built? So you talk about oral history. Were you able to interview the founders of the temple, or people who were pioneers?
Well, among the pioneers, yeah, there were a few pioneers. Our origins of Yishun Gurdwara go back to as early as the day the British started the construction of the dockyard, the naval base. If I may just digress a bit.
Yes.
As you're aware, in fact, pre-World War I, the British were already quite concerned about the region, and they were looking at a place to build a naval base. UK was too far away, and they chose the naval base area in Singapore. And then the first thing they did was to bring in some laborers from India as well as some locals to clear the swamps. And obviously, security was a major concern. They started recruiting security guards who subsequently got converted as policemen. So the first lot of Sikhs who came in, it was as early as 1923. Construction started around 1919, I think, and 1923, yeah. And within a short period, when there were about 60, 76, they decided to build a Gurdwara. Or rather, the British told them, these are your quarters, and this is a place for you to have your Gurdwara. They were well aware of what the Sikhs needed, because they had experience with them in Punjab, that you need to provide them a religious place for their spiritual needs. So they gave them the so-called atap huts that they constructed for these guys as quarters. They also gave them a place to construct the Gurdwara. So it was from the people who I mean, we had people who were there slightly after that period and used to hear stories exactly where they were and so on. So our earliest is that it was constructed in 1925.
Right.
1925, yeah.
Mm.
So that was just near the dockyard around Ottawa, current day Ottawa Road and so on, somewhere
Mm.
there. Then, as the size of the police force grew, and the construction also sort of expanded both ways towards the Sambawang Mata Gate area, uh, and they decided to build the Gurdwara around the Mata Gate area. But then it was about 200 policemen.
Mm.
By then, there were no concrete buildings. It was all temporary structures. Then in the 30s, the camera lines, or in the old days, they used to call them the pulley lines, were ready for occupation. And then the temple shifted to Canberra Road. I mean, the Canberra lines, one of the
Mm.
blocks there was given as a temple. A lot of our oldies have got fond memories of the place. And then came World War II, and then the police force was disbanded.
Mm.
Gurdwara did not operate during that period, but the needs of the Sikhs were taken care of by our civilian sister Gurdwara. And there was another Gurdwara in Sambawang, which was
Uh,
called the Sambawang Sikh Temple. I
uh,
will explain the association of these two Gurdwaras.
yeah, that's two, right?
Yeah. So they were there in Sambawang. The policemen also, the force was as good as this, close disbanded. Some of the policemen were taken care of by their civilian friends who were having the Gurdwara. The Japanese allowed it to operate. Uh, then after the war, the Naval Base Police got reorganized, and then the size got back built to about 550 policemen. By that time, Khalsa Crescent was ready, which I spoke of where I was living
Mm.
as a child. The Gurdwara was shifted to Khalsa Crescent. One of the blocks, the basement area, was given to the Sikhs as their Gurdwara. I have fond memories of that period. And then in 1959, the Rimau complex, which had earlier been planned for by the British to be used by their so-called maritime operations and so on, according to records available, they decided that that could be deferred for the time being. Accommodation was a major issue. The force was expanding in considerable size. So we got moved up to Rimau Barracks, also called the Rimau Building, which was designed more for military purposes, but got converted into quarters. One portion of it was given to the British Naval Charts Department, where they looked after the charts and so on and provided all those things. And we lived in Rimau for quite some time. And then finally Cochrane, which was a new complex. By that time, so the Gurdwara lasted at Rimau until 1971. Then we took our belongings and so on and joined up with our sister Gurdwara that was operating outside the base in Sambawang Sikh Temple. Their government had redevelopment plans, and they served notice somewhere in the 70s, 74 or so on, that this is state land, you guys better start looking for an alternative location. That kept going on for some time. And then in the 80s, more concrete developments took place. We were given a plot of land in Yishun, our present day Gurdwara, which we built and was ready for occupation in 1995. We have been there since then. 30 years have passed. It was on a 30-year lease. We just extended the lease for another 30 years. So that's a little bit of the history of the Gurdwara. Now, this sister Gurdwara, if I may just explain,
Yeah.
as the base was being constructed, all and like we spoke, the various quarters and so on were all over accommodation, including for the Europeans. Obviously, they had their big bungalows and whatnot, and there were a lot of civilians working too. Initially, the civilians sort of worshipped together with the uniform personnel. But as the base expanded and security had to be tightened, and the fencing around the base got built, control measures got enforced, the civilians felt that it was difficult. So they decided to build the Sambawang Sikh Temple in 1936. We had two Gurdwaras operating in the naval base then. One for the uniformed personnel inside the base, and one for the civilians outside the base at Samwachi Drive in Sambawang.
So
Yeah.
that is very interesting, right? Like the civilians, what kind of jobs were they doing?
The civilians were involved in quite a lot of vocations.
Yeah.
Drivers, clerks, storekeepers, crane operators, mechanics, electricians, carpenters, variety of jobs.
Right. So it's a simple oversimplification lah to think that the Sikhs are mainly in the police force, right? They are in different jobs.
Yes, but obviously in smaller numbers, but the largest numbers were found in security-related jobs,
Right.
especially in the early years.
Okay, great. So just a quick question: how do we get a copy of your book? Is it still in print?
Yeah. So, I mean, we printed the first 500 copies. We have a few left. There have been requests, so we may do a reprint because we are celebrating our 100th anniversary this year. So we are considering maybe do a reprint, but we sure, and we'll also try and update it a little bit more now.
Right. I found the book online, so I'm going to put a link to it as well, the online ebook.
Okay, that'll be great.
Right. Okay, a very dumb question, because I mean, usually I really like this interview because when we think about the naval base, we usually think about the Malayalis. Yeah. And of course, they rightly so, they did a lot of the technical jobs in the naval base.
Yeah.
And they were the biggest portion of the Indian population.
Yeah.
But the Sikhs, I'm really happy to cover them here and you to talk about their history as well. And I don't have any Sikh friends. So
Well,
this is the
you'll have
first,
one for a start now.
yes, the first of many. And this is the opportunity for me to like really get into the culture and the religion and all that.
Sure.
So a very simple question, how important is religion, right, Sikhism, to the Sikh community and especially the role of the temple?
We all respect all our religions, and obviously Sikhism is a unique religion that made its appearance when our first founder Guru Nanak was born in the 15th century, around 1469, I think. I'm a bit unsure of the date now. And then that was the period of a bit of turmoil and beliefs in all this superstitious stuff, idol worship, caste system, treatment of women, and so on. So Guru Nanak came up with these very simple principles that we are all humanity. We believe everybody got a right to be what you want to be, and God exists in you. There is no such thing as so many gods. There's only one God. And you'll be surprised that every day when we pray, our final prayer in the evening before we go to bed, our final prayer ends with the words, blessing for all, not just for ourselves, the whole of mankind. We ask God to bless everybody. And we believe, we do not believe in proselytization. We do not say, we said, if you're a Muslim, be a good Muslim. If you're a Hindu, be a good Hindu. You're a Sikh, be a good Sikh. And we are all basically part of universal community. So Guru Nanak started off with those teachings, and he traveled all over. You'll be very, very surprised. He traveled the whole of India. He went on his so-called, what we call Odesis, or religious journeys all over India at different time frames. I mean, I don't go into too much details. to the whole of northeast up near the Chinese border. Some said he also sort of went across, and there are some accounts I do not know. This side to Bangladesh and Sri Lanka, and up to the Middle East, all the way up to Mecca. And I, when I was in the army, and I was given a chance to lead a small team of SAF officers on the UNICOM mission in a peacekeeping mission at the Kuwaiti-Iraq border.
Mm.
I had a chance to visit a place where Guru Nanak had visited in Iraq. There was a Sikh temple even in Iraq.
Ah.
So he visited, Iraq. From there, obviously, he moved to Saudi, which was nearby. So he went to a lot of places preaching universality, peace, respect for everybody, gender equality, and so on, and trying to get rid of basically superstitious beliefs and so on. After Guru Nanak, we had a number of gurus. Our last guru was Guru Gobind Singh, after which he said that our Guru Granth Sahib, we treat our holy book, if I may call it, as our living guru. We treat him with all the honor of living guru, early morning, bringing the Guru Granth Sahib out, installing it in the temple for anybody to worship, and in the evening at night, we, through a proper ceremony, bring the Guru Granth Sahib to what we call the Sachkhand room, where he rests for the night, and so on. It's a practice done in all our Gurdwaras. And the Sikhs, if you read about them in any of the books, we went through a lot of challenges, because that was the time, if you know, the Mughals and the Afghans and so on, they were in charge in India. Not all the rulers were bad, but among them, there were a few who were all out to convert the Hindus into Islam, and they had their own objectives, obviously. And that was the time where Sikhs had to fight for themselves, and through those challenging times. Our gurus got martyred. Our fifth guru, very, very important, because he sort of compiled the scriptures until then. He was involved in the construction of the Golden Temple. He was martyred in Lahore for standing up against the Muslim rulers. Then we had our Guru Gobind Singh. He paid a very, very heavy price. His whole family basically died fighting for the cause. His four sons, two died fighting in battle, in the famous Battle of Chamkaur, where the father personally sent the sons out to battle and told them, "I don't want to see wounds on your back. That means you fight." And younger two sons martyred, entombed in basically a wall while alive. So we got all this story. His mother paid a very, very heavy price too. So to us, religion is important. The scriptures as left behind by the gurus are important. They are all in our holy book. And we have even some verses from famous Muslim saints. A particular Saint Kabir was very, very famous. Certain verses, his sayings are also there. And a lot of prominent Hindu saints, wise men, their sayings are also there. So it's a compilation of everything. And that's our Guru Granth Sahib. So that's how Sikhism, in the turmoil of that particular period, managed to survive that number of years, and it has continued to thrive even today. It's a long history. We had to fight many, many battles after that too. And then we had a Punjab empire of our own, somewhere around the late 18th century until mid 19th century. We had our own empire at its zenith. It extended all the way of modern day Punjab, including Pakistan, and all the way up to Tibet, where their statues are here.
Yeah, I mean, really, the Sikhs are a diaspora, isn't it? I mean, like the Chinese, like the Arabs, like some of the other Indian communities, they are
Yes,
all over the world.
all over the world, all
So
over.
when the Sikhs come to Singapore, the temple, besides being a religious institution, also function in terms of the social and cultural, economic needs of the community.
Yes,
Hmm,
uh, like I said, there are 7 temples,
hmm,
and a temple basically satisfies the needs of everybody. One unique feature of any of our temples, you'll find the flag at a Sikh temple,
hmm,
and it flies our Nishan Sahib. It's our colors that are up there. Uh, I mean, this is something unique. Any temple. Why do we fly the flag? Because even in ancient times, or rather earlier times, even a traveler, he wants to take rest or anything, it's a flag there he sees from a distance,
hmm,
and he knows he'll be given shelter, he'll be given a place of abode to stay, refuge, and he'll be given food.
right,
And that feature of us providing service in that form,
hmm,
serving the community, is one of our important pillars
hmm.
of Sikhism.
So can I ask, so we know you talked about it. The Sikhs were in the police, the security forces with the British, and then also as the civilian employees, right, of the naval base. So it's quite well taken care of economically, at least, right? What were the kind of needs of the Sikh migrants who came to, how did the temple provide for those needs?
The temple is more for their spiritual needs, but temples come in very handy for a lot of other purposes. For
Mm-mm-mm.
example, uh, at the temples, children are taught the Punjabi language too. So most of us went for Punjabi classes. In addition to reading the holy scriptures, we learn how to read and write Punjabi. That's something that carries on even today, where the Sikhs have built.
Uh,
I mean, we have Punjabi language being recognized by the Singapore government for exam purposes. And we have got students now every Saturday going to a particular center or centers
mm,
which are run by what we call the Singapore Sikh Education Foundation. So that's one component of the Sikh. So education is one thing,
mm, mm, mm.
but the temple can't provide you education to all levels.
Yeah.
So that's why they are. So that's one feature. What else does the temple help in? Uh, the whole community spirit, marriages
Mm,
and so on are done. You see, our whole life from birth till death revolves around the temple. A child is born, he is brought to the temple for his immersion into Sikhism or baptizing him as a Sikh. So there, when we cremate our people who are passing on,
mm,
it's the ceremony at the temple,
mm.
and then you execute the whatever other requirements in terms of the cremation. So that is another area.
Yeah.
Community food, I mean, I don't need to elaborate. The Sikhs are
Mm,
everywhere, and the temples, basically, that is one of their major activity. We do not say our food is open to everybody, anytime. So during COVID, we were supplying food packets to everybody, people from all races, religion, anybody can come.
mm, mm,
Walk to any temple, nobody will stop you. We do not believe in saying that you cannot enter the temple because you. All we ask is have respect for the temple, make sure your head is covered, and we welcome with the open arms. Any temple you go to.
Is
Yeah.
there a reason why your heads are covered? I mean, even like now.
No, that is a feature that our Guru Gobind Singh, eventually when he created the Khalsa Panth, he basically then said that this is our attire. Your hair
Mm,
should not be cut, all. And he gave us a sense of a uniform because he fought wars and so on. So it's a sort of a uniform that we wear to distinguish us as Sikhs. I know the term uniform does not really denote the
yes,
correct
yes.
description, but that's what we are. So we are
Yeah.
recognized anywhere.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is from that guru. Is that a guru?
Guru Gobind Singh,
Okay.
basically, for
Okay.
example, you see me wearing a bangle. We have got these 5 Ks. In our lingo, we use Kaka is for case. So we have got a kada, case is hair, kishera is our undergarment, karpan was a feature that we used to do for fighting.
Yeah.
And we still keep it as a feature for ourselves. And it is more not for self-defense, but to help somebody in need.
Speaking about the features, I mean the Sikhs are so distinctive, right? Physically,
Yes.
you can recognize them. Uh, what about the facial hair for the men?
Well, we are supposed to keep our hair as they are.
Yeah.
Obviously, upkeep yourself properly, properly run. But rightfully, you are not supposed to remove any portion. God has given you that, and you are supposed to keep it and keep it with proper honor.
Okay, okay. Uh, is there any association with that look, right? With the kind of the martial appearance,
Mhm.
and that kind of connects well with the occupation, right? So you are not going to, be funny with a Sikh policeman because also, uh, with their formidable appearance, right? Is there any connection between those two things, the appearance and the occupation?
Uh, I won't put it that way,
Yeah.
but yes, impressions were created not by us,
Mm.
but by the developments that took place or the situations that existed then. For example, the British brought in Sikhs to China, Hong Kong, Guangzhou, all the way up to even Shanghai, Canton. There were Sikhs brought in as early as Boxer Rebellion. Uh, Sikhs were there. Sorry, the Anglo-Chinese wars. They brought some Sikhs there, but the bulk of the Sikhs came there in the 1880s, 1900. And in during the Boxer Rebellion, there are
Yeah.
a lot of writings that you could see a Sikh holding the hair, because those days they used to have long hair. So the policeman holding two of these guys who are creating problems and so on and bringing them down.
Yeah.
So there was some fear in others of the Sikh, a single policeman standing somewhere. People were concerned. There's some descriptions of certain episodes and so on. Even Singapore.
Mm.
Singapore decided to create a special Sikh police contingent in near Chinatown, Pearl Hill, Singapore Lines.
Yeah.
The police, they brought them there again because of the civil disorder and everything, and the secret societies and the colonial masters who had experienced the Sikhs maintaining the kingdom prior to them having annexed Punjab, and during the two wars that the British fought against the Sikhs, the Anglo-Sikh wars in the late 1840s. They knew the what shall I say, the caliber capability of Sikh soldiers, and it was their impression that these guys created quite a fearsome look, which was a sort of a deterrent to would-be troublemakers.
Fantastic. I do want to talk about that a bit more later on, especially for Singapore history. But I just have one last question about the temple, right? I did a previous research on the Sri Narayana mission, which is also in the Sembawang area, Chong Pang
Yes.
village. And they faced a lot of challenges as well when they had to move the two institutions connected to them, right? First is, of course, their office,
Yeah.
which was in Chong Pang,
Yeah.
and also their nursing home, which was in the former naval base.
Yeah.
And moving was not easy, right? Moving was very challenging because the whole area was being developed. You need money, you need to find land, and you need to negotiate with the various government agencies, blah, blah, blah. It
Yeah.
was a real headache, but they did it, right? Because they believed in what they were doing. So I guess, from the various moves that the Sikh temple had to make, there was a lot of challenges as well, and that this really showed the dedication and the community spirits of the Sikhs in the north.
Yeah, the challenges are tremendous.
Mm,
Uh, yes, I'm well aware of Sri Narayanan and their move to the present day location.
mm,
Uh, and our temple, Sikh temple, really went through a lot of difficulties.
Yeah.
Because first of all, we didn't own the land. Sadly, we are the only temple in Singapore which never owned the land. The other
Ah,
six temples had their own piece of land. They
okay.
purchased it, they built on it. For whatever reason, it would be unfair for me to say that the earlier guys didn't do a good job, but
Mm,
that is a fact of life. Uh, we were sitting on state land. We had just created, actually, when we moved, for example, the Naval Police Force, all expenses were paid by the police,
mm,
the construction of the temple and so on. Maintenance, running, day-to-day running was done by us. So the police temples, no issue. It was the responsibility of the colonial master. But the Sambong Sikh temple, like I told you, our sister temple, which we had amalgamated when the British withdrew, we brought all our barang-barang from the naval base and joined them at Sambawang. Now that temple was not sitting on any
mm.
own property. And it was a matter of time the government was going to move us because they had plans. Uh, we didn't have much money too, because don't forget the naval base area, the Sikhs there are different from the Sikhs in the south. A
Yeah.
lot of them who are businessmen and so on.
Uh,
Ours were just day-to-day workers, policemen, given quarters, but wages were not that high. The others were all doing basic, simple jobs. You had about I would say about 3 to 5,000 Sikhs in the northern part of Singapore.
okay.
Yeah, in 1931 census, they said there was about 3,006. So I presume maybe I can add another 1,000 or so.
Yeah.
But anyways, they were not the businessmen type. So, though there were one or two who were doing some provincial shops or selling small textiles and other one to cater for the small British,
Right.
the
Right.
British sailors. So we didn't have money. And then when we were served notice, all we had was about 300 over dollars. 3,000, 300,000, sorry,
Mm-mm.
$300,000. And the government gave us the plot of land. Fortunately, government was very good, to be fair. They had allocated that piece of land strictly for us, but we had to pay the whatever the price, and the price then was not that expensive. It was close to about 400. Paying that 400 was not an issue. I mean, we could raise it immediately. But constructing the temple was a major problem because
Uh,
2 or 3 story building, whatever we wanted initially, finally we decided on a 2 story building. We required at least 2 million over dollars. And how do you raise 2 million over
wow.
dollars? First of all, from a crowd of our nature and so on. But the Sikh community is one community when it comes to a religious issue.
Mm,
Money is never short. All they need is to decide we are going to do this. If it's a religious temple, they'll set their own personal differences aside and they will go into
mm,
collect the funds and so on. So it
mm.
was difficult. We had a building fund committee headed by another friend of mine. I was also then there as the president. So we got a group together and then we reached out to other Sikhs too. So like I said, when it comes to temple, Sikhs will go all out to support the effort. And we were well assisted by all the others. And don't forget, during that period, 3 Sikh temples were being built. That period of the 90s, we had
Yeah.
Silat Road, we've
Mm,
been rebuilt. We had another temple called Khalsa Tarmakswa in Niven Road, which was being rebuilt, and we had Yishun. So the total cost of the 3 temples was, I think, close to about $12 million, 12
all
or
right.
12 to $15 million. But the whole community got together and helped each other. Uh, Remarkable, but nothing unusual. Like I said, Sikhs in a religious situation
Yeah.
will come out and give the best, because that's one of the principles of Sikhism, contributing for worthy causes. We have our fair share. We have what we call Daswan, celebrate. Contributing a certain amount of money every month
Mm,
for that kind of purposes. So anyway, in our case, we had to only raise about $2 million. We managed to raise it. A lot of hiccups, a lot of ups and downs during the period,
Right.
but the temple was built. And now, 30 years later, we decided to renovate the temple and also to pay for the lease. We have been able to do so.
Great. I mean, it is the challenge, right? Like relocation that brings the community together,
Yeah.
right? Could you say something about the Sikh temple in Silat? Because a few of my interviewees have talked about going past the temple, when they go to Silat school, I think it's around the Tanjong Pagar area. And of course, that's where I guess the temple is serving the Sikhs who were employed
Yeah.
at the port of Singapore, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Silat Road, Silat Road Temple is somewhere in Kampong Baru area,
Right,
just
right.
opposite the SGH, the grounds below. It has also got a unique history, again associated with the policemen. Like I told you, there was the Sikh police contingent that was created in 1881. And Pearl Hill, you have Pearl Hill Lower Barrack, Pearl Hill Upper Barracks. I served there when I was in the army in the early days, when it was then our so-called MID. So those were the living quarters of the Sikhs. And you find both buildings are still there, the upper barracks and the lower barracks. And then you have got a parade square there. So when the Sikhs came, there were about 100 odd Sikhs that came in 1881. They were housed there. It was called the Sepoy Lines. Yeah. Initially, the temple was built around the Sepoy Lines itself. Subsequently, they reorganized and built at Silat Road. So that's the so-called origins of the Silat Road Sikh temple. Another unique feature of the Sikh temple is that there is a memorial there. A simple memorial. If you go, there is a temple, and then on its left, if you're looking at it from the entrance area, is a smaller memorial commemorating one famous personality of ours, one Bhai Mejar Singh, who most of us believe was the first Sikh to arrive in Singapore in 1850. Maybe I'll just say a few words about this man. Okay. We were talking of Punjab earlier. So the Punjab Empire existed all the way up to our ruler Maharaj Ranjit Singh, who passed on in 1839. And after that, there was a bit of problem, succession issue. The British took Maharaj Dilip Singh, his younger son, was too young to rule. Brought him to UK together with the Kohinoor, the famous story of the diamond in the Queen's crown. That time, they had the Anglo-Sikh wars. The Sikhs got defeated. And Bhai Maharaj Singh was a very inspirational leader, a soldier saint, we call him. So he continued to fight against the British even after they had defeated us in the two wars and annexed Punjab. And eventually he was captured and then he was brought over to serve his sentence in Outram Jail. Outram Jail was just opposite the hospital,
Yes.
somewhere opposite the current day mortuary. Outram Jail was located there. So he was housed there, and he died, I think, around 1855 or 1856, after about 5 years. So he was brought along with his close follower, one Khark Singh. So these are the two individuals who were brought over, full escorted and all that, because he was an inspirational leader and the British wanted him out of the way. So he was brought here, and there are a lot of stories about him. His so-called spiritualness and so on. And he was well respected. Even the British, as a prisoner, they treated him as somebody special. Anyway, as he passed on, His a small memorial, he was cremated around the prison grounds, but a small memorial was constructed just outside the current day SGH, Singapore General Hospital. In fact, Block 3, somewhere opposite there was a memorial. I remember as a child going there quite often. And then obviously when General Hospital was being expanded and so on, the government requested that the memorial be moved. It was brought down to Silat Road.
I see.
Yeah, so that's the story of the temple and this particular individual of ours. And it attracts crowds from all over the world, not just Singapore, even from elsewhere, because of the personality of Mejar Singh. People believe in him and they come there. Though we don't believe in idol worship, but his association with the temple is important. Yeah.
I see. I see.
So that's the very brief history of Silat Road. And today it continues to thrive, and the government has, I think, gazetted it as a heritage location. Yeah.
What is the connection between the what you call the Northern Sikhs and those in the city area, like in the Tanjong Pagar area? Was there a lot of contact between the two groups?
Yes, there was, but during the British days, we were a unique community.
Yeah.
We sort of existed within ourselves. There was a big, I'm sure you must have heard so many narrations of the naval base. It was a fenced-up community. We were living inside the base. The base had a number of gates that you could come through. There were requirements for passes. If you want to come, you need to be sponsored in. All of us carried our own identity card. We didn't carry the Singapore identity card. We carried our own identity cards. And obviously, our life existed within the naval base. And a bit awkward, but we looked outside as Singapore. Outside the fence was Singapore, and we were the base. So, and that community, even until today, the attachment continues to still exist, and even the Singaporean Sikhs outside sometimes refer to us as the the naval base, the Yishun crowd, and so on, because we have got that sense of little bit of a identity of our own, something unique from others. Whereas the temples outside are a collection of, devotees from all over. So, but yes, there was interaction. Sikhs, wherever, Gurdwaras or elsewhere, there's a lot of interaction. You want to organize major functions, they all talk to each other. Sometimes they do it on a combined effort. Sometimes they do it separately. Some temples may come with certain initiatives to execute certain projects. This continues to even today, and it used to happen in the past. That's a tradition that always existed. So no differentiation in that sense, but a bit of a identity differentiation because of the geographic separation.
Yeah. I have to ask you, what are your memories of growing up in the naval base?
Oh, wonderful memories, actually great memories, because we all grew up together. The other, as I said, we had an identity of our own. And it was a lot of fun and game. There was so much of facilities in the naval base. You had world-class pitches. The British spent a lot of money on their sports fields. We had our own theaters inside. You could watch Hindi movies, you could watch English movies. And it was really fun days. And there are a lot of prominent sportsmen the naval base produced. Yeah. In athletics, in football, the Kwa family, the Kumar, so many individuals that we produce from Elbis.
What position did you play and to what level?
No, I used to only play hockey. I didn't make it to.
Okay.
I played hockey for my school. I played hockey for the district, and I played hockey for combined schools. That was all, and that's how while playing hockey against the army guys those days, the Army Depot Police guy. When I finished my secondary education, one of my friends introduced him to him and said that I might be looking for a job. He said, "Come, join the Army Depot Police." So I went to the Army Depot Police. just to play hockey for them.
Because we have mentioned the occupations a bit now. When you had the opportunity to join the police, what did your father say?
Well, those days, first of all, you are looking at a situation uh, post Malaysia in 1965. We had been evicted, watching our prime minister. Shedding tears on TV. His emotional state then, and what job opportunities were there? You either join the police or you join the shipyard as an apprentice or something, or you go and be a teacher. Those days, O levels, you could be a teacher. And actually, I
Mm,
became a teacher. I was teaching for about 6 months until they called me
mm,
up for national service. So, I mean, given our limited education, mine was just O levels.
mm,
And my father couldn't afford to send me more higher than that because there were 7 of us in the family. I was the eldest son. We needed a bit of money uh, for the upkeep of our family because I had a sister to get married. She was older than me, 2 elder sisters. And basically, it was looking for a job, and any job that come your way, you grab those days.
right,
Yeah.
right. And I think that's a very interesting time as well in that sense. I mean, prior to that, I guess being a policeman is almost hereditary, or I mean, not hereditary, but it's a community job, right? It's a Sikh common occupation. But with the independence, you now have more opportunities in going forward, lah, right? If you
Yeah.
go forward.
Yeah.
Was there now a kind of change in thinking among some of the younger Sikhs like you that maybe there are other opportunities, maybe you can go out of that traditional occupations?
Yeah. First of all,
Mm,
not so much it was a traditional occupation. Like I
mm,
said,
mm,
because of our history in fighting wars there and our deployment in areas of conflict where the British had issues, they brought us up purely in the uniform role. They brought us to China, they
mm,
brought us all the way up to even Australia, but Australia were basically in the earliest mostly farmers and so on. They brought them there, but they brought them to China, they brought them to Malaysia during the Larut riots, the so-called Perak Guides, to resolve this issue, the unstable local conditions there that time. They brought us to Singapore purely for the naval base and the so-called state settlements police. So yes, it became that as a main occupation, obviously in the initial stages. But as Sikhs
mm,
started going to school and with education and so on,
mm,
I think the current generation or the previous generation, they have moved out.
mm.
It's no longer that we look to the army or police to join. Now we got people who are professionals in all fields. You name it, medical, legal, IT. We are represented everywhere. Overrepresented in the uniform services, perhaps, but we are everywhere now.